Hello. Now, I can't believe the end of last episode, I managed to use the phrase back to the jazz without making any horrible pun-based references to the vegan Honda factory over here, where we build vegan Hondas with some horse content. And let's put that down. Well, this actually would be entirely wrong because the Honda factory in Swindon didn't actually start producing Accords, it was originally, until 1992. So we're actually a good year or so early for that. But never mind, this is an open TD. It doesn't have to be accurate to the real world. Let's go connecting coal mines. The last of the industries that we haven't connected. I'm going to try to connect them up to my existing network because I want to create a huge disaster that I then have to fix, because that's the kind of entertainment we go for. Though I do wonder which sort of back to the jazz. I mean, that sounds to me like something from some, some sort of where they those 70s cop shows. The US had Starsky and Hutch from their big kind of Ford Torino that they squeal around junctions in, and one thing noticeable in Starsky and Hutch actually is there's almost every car was supplied by the Ford Motor Company. So you will notice this, that they will drive down a road, sort of the car wobbling on its very soft suspension, going all over the place, knocking over some boxes, because that was a good Starsky and Hutch pastime. And they will always be passing Fords and Mercurys and Lincolns, and I think they'd usually be chased by a bad kind of Lincoln. And this was the case for almost every car on the show, except Hutch, the blonde detective, did not have a Ford. They had a very, very shabby Chevrolet of some description. And I think pretty much the only Ford car, non-Ford cars, in this sort of Ford universe. Imagine the sort of sales figures when they're collating those. It's the end of the year at General Motors, they're looking at sort of competitor analysis. And I used to do this, by the way. This was a job that I had, doing automotive competitor analysis. So, the kind of reports that they would get at the end of it. And from Ford are kind of looking down their reports. They're looking at sort of the industry sales. They're going, Ford, 18 million. Chevrolet, 1. And actually not even 1, because Hutch's car was quite old by that time. But yes, what happens to those characters in 70s cop shows? They sort of age. So obviously, you had like the Sweeney only had, which was the UK one, where Reagan and Carter of the flying squad driving around in their Granada, chasing villains in Jaguars, probably sort of just really waiting for something to go wrong on the old Jag. And before I get to the inevitable, they talk about comments. Before I get to the inevitable, I have a Jag and it's perfect. It's like, though not the 70s, but I remember the 80s. So we knew around kind of sorry where I grew up had Jags, and the thing you noticed with sort of Jaguar owners is that they would tend to sort of have cables for jumping the car off another car in their boot, and sort of things which other car owners tended not to think about. They kind of had lots of tools for fixing the Jag when it went wrong. And so whereas Granadas, and I remember my dad had one of those, not a proper Sweeney Mark 1 3 litre, but they did have a 2.8 litre Mark II, which is a fantastic sort of barge of a car back when, big luxury cars like that, they didn't pretend to be sporting or whatever. They're pretty, handled quite well, but really did major on comfort. So it's definitely sort of going around corners at speed. It's, oh no, the AI has this AI is quite effective as well. This radio logistics. This does quite well, so I'm not sure I'm going to see them die anytime soon. I'll leave them to their mind, like ants around an anthill. Yes, the Mark II Granada was definitely one of those cars. Sort of, did that. Their sort of incredible angles of suspension lean and sort of squealing tyres if it went around a corner at high speed. Very, very comfortable. Lots of velour inside. the very sort of velour kind of motor car. And yes, lots of yes, very very reliable. You know, also, what are the cars like? I had years later. So anyway, welcome to Dimwall's car years with incidental open TTD in the background. Let's disconnect these coal mines. Well, this is weird. Really, I'm not doing anything amazingly sophisticated with the coal mines, other than just connecting stuff up. So they don't think it needs really for me to go into sort of detailed. You know, this is how I'm playing the game. This is why I'm doing this. I'm connecting coal mines because they need to be connected. I'm not doing anything amazingly sophisticated with the network. You know, maybe if we were playing this on a live stream, people would be able to ask me like, "Why are you doing this?" And I'd probably go, "Oh, I'm not supposed to be doing that. I'm actually doing that wrong. Thanks for noticing." But, yes, well, yes. So I had many years later. I kind of had that sort of urge to have this sort of big, sort of soft, mass market brand kind of big barges. And so I had a Vauxhall Amiga. I didn't have the proper big 6 one. I had the 2.5 litre V6, which at the time when I had it felt like, oh, yes, that's an amazing engine. I think it's more power than I'd ever had in anything before. Like 170 brake horsepower, which, you know, sort of sounds like, bear in mind, this was sort of a kind of late 90s car. So that was when that was still sort of impressive, I guess. But then this was a lesson in a power to weight ratio, because it also weighed a lot. And then how much acceleration a 4-speed automatic can sap from your car. Yes, a bit more sporting ride than the Granada, but again, quite well sorted handling wise, but still very, very soft compared to sort of modern cars. Really kind of squishy and comfortable, and you know, kind of suited the character. Really good sort of 4-speed automatic. Really a bit nippier with the big V6. So it was really sort of 200 brake horsepower. And then standards were lower back then. Let's connect this up now. This is going to need a sort of a fairly long entry route, so I want to make sure that when trains are loading, they can queue up without affecting the mainland. Oh, which does this connect to? So this needs to. I've done my classic trick, haven't I? They've connected a thing to where it cannot get to the actual line. So this actually does need to go right over here. There's some actual gameplay taking place. Yes. So the Swede, all of that exciting sort of car chase action where they would, you know, follow a Jaguar down to a scrapyard, and then there would be some sort of exciting. I don't think they really had shootouts, but I can't really remember what they did, and I kind of felt, you know, trying to be informative, but apparently not even hitting that low bar. Then mostly just probably it was like a lot of sort of 70s cop shows. I think they were just kind of angry at the villains until they agreed not to be villains anymore. Either that or they did something horrible. Because I was watching these, you know, I didn't watch these for the original run. I didn't get to do anything that exciting. So they might have just sort of, you know, they might have just cut lots of the episodes out. And in fact, if you had watched them sort of on your little wood surround TV in the 70s, you'd have seen them sort of beating up villains with a length of pipe or whatever other sort of 70s style policing went on. Because it was supposedly one of the things of Sweeney was supposed to be quite controversial when it originally came out, for actually kind of showing what's life in. Why is that going there? I'm a little concerned that that's going there. I'm not sure it should be going there. Hereford Woods, where's Hereford Woods? Oh dear. Oh, this looks bad. This looks like a generally bad thing going on. Oh no. No, yes. No, that is a bad thing going on. That is not how that's supposed to be working. Oh no. Oh no. Bother. Can I do that? No, I must demolish the bridge first. Must demolish that. So this is going to be a horrible bit of junctioning. this is going to have to kind of go up here, then along here, then over here, and then sort of round like that. This is already a colossal mess, and I should just abandon it and hang up my OpenTT playing and just never do it again. Okay, let's build that. Let's build that. Right. Okay. And did that get signaled? Yay, it got signaled. Good. And so yes, Sweden is pretty controversial because it was actually probably not a million miles from how the police flying squad at the time actually operated. We seemed to involve a bit of drinking whiskey on lunchtime and then driving around in a Granada, but that was the 70s. The 70s, people did awful things like drink drive. But yes, the thing that they should have done is driven sedately around in their far more reliable Ford Granada, just waited for the villain's jag to break down, and then when they're sort of trying to jumpstart it, or investigate some sort of electrical fault or something like that, and then there you go. Aha! You've been doing villain things, and we are the police. You know how this is going to go down. I was connecting a coal mine. Yes, Ross Mines. Feels like a sort of name of someone with excessive nominative determinism. Let's wiggle this around here like this. That needs to wiggle more wiggling. Yes, anyway, and where was I going with this? Well, nowhere is the usual answer, but no, I did have something specific in mind, which was that yes, all of these cops of the cop shows of the 70s, what if they still kept on coppering? And they into their old age. The Regan and Carter, the Sweeney would probably be quite old. As would Starsky and Hutch. They'd obviously be in the US, so it'd be slightly different. So sort of imagine this world. Let's change this around a little bit so this has a better approach to that station. In which that actually becomes a thing, sort of the Sweeney, the villain has gotten away in their modern and probably very reliable and quite well built Jaguar. Probably they used to have an S-type in the Sweeney or whatever, didn't they? So they've sped off in their XF with the sort of fancy transmission lever that rises up out of the center console. All of those tricks. They've got their Bowers and Wilkins sound system listening to sort of evil, villainous music, and yes, Regan and Carter, because they're now sort of pensioners, will be shouting, "Back to the jazz!" That was about, that's about 13 minutes to get to that tortuous pun, wasn't it? They're going, oh, it's not got the road presence of the Granada, has it? Neither has it got to the big 3-litre V6. But yes, it's very practical, though. Look how much load space there is. Sort of, I'd say that's a bit mismatched, but actually the modern UK traffic, it's probably perfectly feasible to chase villains down in a Jazz or a Yaris, because they're probably only going to get stuck behind some sort of enormous sport utility vehicle being driven at 32 miles per hour, the national speed limit, because somebody's going, it's too wide if I can't pass any cars without scraping it into a hedge or something like that. So yes, also very quite feasible if they were a bit of a rebel and just like sort of it's disasters are occurring. And actually, why is there a disaster there? Why did that train stop? There's no good reason for that to have stopped there. Oh, there's a very good reason. So you know how I'm always going on about consistent signal gaps? Well, here is one of those situations. And this is not going to be exactly good, but we should be okay if we do that. And there we go. That should make that a bit better. There's a merge there, which is slightly awkward, but this should be more performant just with that. Okay, yes. Yes, but yes, they could be. Rather than sort of, using an ordinary 1-litre Yaris, they could be using a Gazoo racing Yaris. That would be exciting. sort of cop car, wouldn't it? Sort of a flying squad, sort of driving around doing sort of those handbrake turns and kind of four-wheel drive wheel spins on gravel, and chasing someone in their XF, which will be on a lease, and they won't want to get it scratched. I don't think there's there's not an equivalent for the Jazz. Sadly, because given the background of Honda. Oh, you know what's going to be going on here. I bet Bath has stopped accepting goods. Oh, Bath. So, usually the cheat is just to pop a little station in here, just to extend the coverage a bit. And this used to happen a lot in kind of vanilla TCD. It happens a lot even in open TCD, actually. Well, it's happening here, but yes, the station stops accepting goods. There's probably a notification that I should have paid attention to. But yes, it's kind of a shame with Honda, given this sort of background, Sweetero Honda and his the kind of, obsession as a child, sort of sniffing oil leaked from cars and being obsessed with motorcycles and racing and whatever, and building kind of small cars with screaming high RPM engines. That there's not sort of a, it's Toyota who've actually gone and built the sort of crazy rally homologation hatchback with this sort of, the crazy little 3-cylinder engine, which is only a little 1.6 in the Gazoo Yaris, and it gives you something like 240 brake horsepower. It's like utterly ridiculous. It's the kind of thing which, well, as I say, the days of if you bought a Vauxhall Amiga and you bought the big 3 litre, and even I think the later 3.2, you didn't get as much power as you get in a sort of little tiny hatchback, but rally special. So I assume there's not some sort of equivalent of extreme Jazz Type R. What's the next level? Because it'd be a level up even from a Type R, wouldn't it? So, because I don't think I'm sure people will correct me. This sort of a, I guess I should well, because so maybe if they used the Spoon brand, because that's the sort of Honda tuning house. I think it's Spoon. So you could buy sort of completely separate company. I think you could buy a Spoon June S2000. It sounds like just a really good spoon, doesn't it? The Spoon S2000. No, I think they're actually a separate company. They're like AMG were to Mercedes before they got merged. Oh, anyway, I've connected all the coal mines, haven't I? Are there any coal mines that don't have any connections going? Industry directory. Let's have a look. So, produced coal. Oh no, they're all transported. This is low. Aberystwyth. Okay. So we need more trains to Aberystwyth. Probably not that many more. Never mind. Let's go back. Let's have a look at the kind of backbone. Are we having problems with the network yet? Well, this we knew was sort of slow, but this doesn't seem to be having any problems. Ooh, that was a bit of a jump. Have we got realistic acceleration on? Oh no, of course. We're using the original vanilla acceleration model. Let's change that, because that's a little bit silly to be using that. It's not a very good acceleration model. That's one of the things that actually OTTD took a while to get the realistic acceleration model. It's one of the things that I missed most from TTD patch in the early days. Obviously, these days it has a very good realistic acceleration model, so we don't have to worry so much about that. But yeah, that should resolve that. Yes, this network's still holding up quite well. Yes. So yes, Spoon kind of the equivalent of AMG before Mercedes actually bought AMG. So AMG used to be a separate company. They sort of put increasingly large V8s in their Mercedes cars when Mercedes weren't doing it for themselves, because Mercedes were quite willing to put an enormous V8 in a small car from sort of the late 60s onwards. And there's a film actually sort of famous in automotive circles. There's a film called C'est un Rendezvous, which I forget the name of the filmmaker, but the whole premise is that it's some someone racing through Paris in a Ferrari to meet a lady. So, very, very kind of late 60s, early 70s type film. And the whole premise is this: it's supposed to be in a Ferrari, and it's got sort of dubbed on Ferrari engine noises. But the actual thing was filmed with a camera mounted on the front bumper of one of Mercedes' sort of ridiculous, let's put an enormous V8 in a sort of medium-sized car. It's still a fairly heavy car, of course, but I think back at the time it was actually so the actual car in question was something called the 450 SEL 6.9, and you kind of get an idea of what the main feature of that was. Which, when you put a boot badge on your car saying 6.9 litres, sort of there's something fairly serious going on. But yes, because it was actually an S-Class, but it was because they originally had a car which is even larger than an S-Class, and had a huge engine just to move it, and also because it had this incredible high-pressure hydraulic system. So if you look up the Mercedes 600, they were building this sort of ultra-luxury car. I keep scrolling. I'm looking at things to connect. And I think we've connected everything. The only industries which aren't producing. So yes, yeah. And one of the things about this, banks. The banks are, I think, the only thing we haven't connected. Yes, banks, Cardiff to Tewkesbury. What's going on there? Did they actually have any valuables trucks going on there? Is this just a disaster? Okay, well let's try to connect those. Let's do a little sort of connection. Actually, this is going to be quite a big connection. I'm going to have to go into. The morass, aren't I? Oh, this was a bad idea. Yes. Well, that's not going to go the way that I want it to do. So, I wonder. Actually, if I want to get from here to Cardiff, which route do I need to take? So, I probably need to come down here. So this is kind of becoming my main line. This here. Despite the enormous junction around that's actually becoming the sort of main line. So can I build a station which is sort of near the bank while I go on about this Mercedes that I was talking about? So yes, the 600, the donor engine for the donor for the engine for the 6.9 450 SEL. It only had it's a valuable station. There we go. High security station. There we go. And that has valuable, so we can go out around here. Obviously didn't have this huge engine for performance. This huge engine because it was enormously heavy, and so that was just to make it kind of adequate. But I was going to say, like me and my Amiga with its sort of 2.5 litre V6, that sort of only made it kind of adequate because it was such a big heavy car, but kind of quite a bit more extreme than that, really. Sort of you don't really think about kind of the ultimate standard in luxury when you talk about a Vauxhall Amiga, do you? It's kind of one of the reasons why it's quite never really succeeded. There, I say it. Because I actually quite liked it as a car. It was a likable car. Once you sort of got over the fact that you're not going to be winning Grand Prix in it, but it was quite likable. It was nice, pleasant to drive. Fairly good for long journeys, as long as they weren't raining. Because driving a sort of fairly old, fairly primitive chassis rear-wheel drive car through heavy rain was not a pleasant and fun experience. Basically, used to just look for a route which was basically straight all the way, so you would never have to go around a corner. To sort of deal with the thing trying to oversteer wildly at various points. There's depot there. Whose depot is that? Is it mine? No. Radio logistics, damn you. But yes, Mercedes, yes, the same sort of philosophy. This was a car that, well, kind of see where this is going. They had to put a 6.9 litre engine in it just to make it kind of adequate, to make it sort of reasonable to drive. So that's the kind of level that we're heading for here. But one of the things they did was they decided for this thing being ultra luxury, that electric motors would not do, because electric motors make an irritating whining noise, and we can't possibly have that in our ultra luxury automobile. That would rather ruin the experience. So where does this go? What was that point about organising your network? Me just sort of going, where does this go? Who knows? It is a mystery. So yes, and so this, too many rails going in too many places. Let's pop this up around here, shall we? Yes. And so anyway, completes the story about the ridiculous Mercedes. That's not working. Ridiculous. Oh, that's not going to work either. Oh, nothing is going to work because everything is too crowded and too busy. So what we're going to have to do is just this little bit of extra. Make these worse. And yes, so that, as I said, electric motors they were, and they make irritating noises. Nobody's going to want that in their car, are they? So they decided that how they would solve this problem. Oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Okay, so what I need to do is actually make this up at a higher level. And was to use hydraulics. And so to just go in there. And this is an entirely reasonable idea, an entirely reasonable way in which... Okay, so this actually doesn't need to go up here. It actually needs to come round here. It's a little bit, actually. Yes, a little bit slow because this needs to be a tight turn. Like possibly, I never drove one, but like I would assume an Amiga with the 2-litre engine would be. So I'm going to call this that. I'm going to name this junction. This is going to be 2.0 voxel Amiga junction. So, yes, that's sort of as people who sort of own and particularly have to pay the service bills for German cars know and love. Their high pressure hydraulics seems like a totally reasonable solution. That's not going to be horrendously complicated and sort of for years leave mechanics with the fear that the car is just going to sort of send 600 psi of mineral oil straight into their arm or whatever. I don't know, it's another voxel Amiga junction. So yes, they decided to do this. They decided to make it run everything. So, it runs sort of the windows, you raise and lower the windows, that's high pressure hydraulics. The central locking is high pressure hydraulics. The boot opens and closes with high pressure hydraulics. Okay, so we need to get to Cardiff. We've still not got to Cardiff Bank. This is taking immensely long, and I'm not really getting anywhere with it. And I'm not even sure that I have connected the correct bit of track up. So they're just going to do that. This is like that previous episode where the same thing happened, where I just connected track. It didn't work. So we have some track. We can definitely get from there to there to there to there. So we now have some track here, which comes down to Cardiff. Because Cardiff Halt accepts. Oh, where is the bank in Cardiff? This I hadn't thought about. Oh, everything is being a disaster. Oh. Well, we are incredibly rich. So these people who thought they had a seafront property. Now do not. In fact, what we're going to do is just going to go, yes. Forget everything. Let's have a station there. I don't want to be going too long with the single tracks. Let's build that up to double track. This is not financially efficient. This is connecting things. Oh dear, that would be fun if I wasn't already extremely busy and extremely late to finish the episode. Probably because I've witted on about the sort of, modern day Sweeney, which they shout back to the jazz a lot. Yes, the Mercedes 600 car, which had all of the things which would be electric in a sort of fancy car, which had lots of electrical things. No, yeah. There's some way to point there. So still kind of, though. I have one on the 3 Series, which does not feel like a luxurious enough car to justify it, but that has an electrical boot that you can press a switch and the boot will open itself. And that mostly serves to just confuse people because they sort of, you can sort of, people use it and they're like, well, you don't expect a boot to be electric. That's not how boots work. So sometimes people are, you sort of give people a lift or something and they put fingers in the boot, you get the lovely sound of them pulling down the boot to the protest of the electric motor going, look, I can do the job for you. You don't need to do that. Right, let's build valuable train. Plus 47, I think. And how many valuables does this bank valuable up? Not very many. So that's 60 bags of valuables. We'll probably get away with one more. Short little trains. That's going to go to Cardiff Annex. Then that's going to go to somewhere up here. And now we're going to find out whether this has worked or not. If I can even find the town. Let's call this Bank Express. Let's see how that goes. Let's run this in fast forward because it's very, very over time. This is almost like 1815 start where everything took ages. So that's now got its valuables. Is it able to get to Tewkesbury Woods? Let's see. 1993. Almost at the time that Transport Tycoon would have come out. That's almost the point where someone was in this scenario. So yes, all those things would be electrical on a modern car. Well, high pressure hydraulic. It obviously worked great in sort of the late 60s when these cars were being bought by, kind of dictators and pop stars. Obviously, apparently have similar car tastes. Later, yes, maintenance nightmare. Car where everything is driven off a high pressure hydraulic system. It's sort of like a big Citroen, but a million times worse. Well, not a million times worse, because that would suggest it's sort of breaking down every 2 minutes, and they certainly didn't do that, but yes, more complicated, certainly higher pressure, and in places where you wouldn't expect it. But anyway, that has worked. Can this now get back? Oh, this thing, because these load both ends, so this might be a bit of a problem. Yes, maybe I should have just looked up the YouTube audio library. Maybe even this would be a good point to, those twinging and twanging and twanging sort of elastic band jazz bass solos. I still can't do one of those. I couldn't do that one in the last episode. But no, this has got back here, and we'll have to deal with the full loading problem, I think. I think the actual problem is going to be that rather than load, we just need to timetable it. And let's make it 20 days. Let's give it a good long time. It took a long time to load, didn't it? And then, yes, and then this will just make this 45 days. Make this 45 days. And set timetable. And that's that. That is now timetable. That's ready to go. And I shall. Now that's actually moving. And I have no more tales of extreme high-pressure Mercedes hydraulics to regular reviews. I shall see you in a future video.